Hi Sean, namaste. Thank you so much for talking to us in Brazil. So can you talk about your work with the youth and AIDS?
Well, the organization is called Youth AIDS.
The organization.
Youth AIDS.
And the Yoga Off the Mat project.
Well, Youth AIDS is an organization out of DC that provides information and services to children worldwide with HIV/AIDS. And they're in 70 countries worldwide. And I got hooked up with them through a friend of mine who's also a student. Her name is Ashley Judd. She's an actress here in the United States. And she's the global ambassador for Youth AIDS. I had worked for a long time I was working in Van Nuys at a shelter called Children of the Night, and I teach yoga to adolescent prostitutes. And a lot of the young women and men that I had worked with there had HIV/AIDS, but because of the resources that we have here in the United States, we're able to get treatment. Ashley had been in Southeast Asia, and she was working with young prostitutes there in third world countries. She had called me up just to dialogue with me about just how to emotionally, how to deal with that kind of an environment, how not to impose your feelings of right and wrong onto a situation, and how to really experience it as it is. And so we started having these conversations about these children, and it was the first time I was starting to understand what kind of what sex trafficking was and sexual exploitation of these very young children in these third world countries, and the necessity, unfortunately, for prostitution as a byproduct or as a way to, what's the word I'm looking for, stave off starvation, basically. It's these children are being forced into this world because they have no money for food, or their families are starving. And so it was a real education for me. And when Ashley came back into the United States, we sat down and we started talking more about this, and she started to tell me about the AIDS crisis in these third world countries and how these young people charge $1 for sex with a condom and $2 for sex without, and that they don't have the opportunity to say no to any sexual experience because they need that money. And very often, if they were to reject a client because they didn't want to wear a condom, the prostitute would either get beaten or raped anyway. So the AIDS pandemic is really critical, especially in the third world countries like India and Africa, of course, and Southeast Asia. And so I started thinking a lot about the yoga community and realizing that at the time there was 20 million people doing yoga. I was very aware of the business of yoga, having worked a lot with different grassroots businesses and large corporations, and I understood that this is a billion-dollar industry. So the people who are doing yoga, especially here in the United States, have some money, a little bit more altruistic, often educated. And I thought, what would happen if we would just find a way to work together to raise money and awareness in regards to the pandemic of AIDS. Now, when it comes to AIDS, AIDS kills one child every single minute. There's 40 million people worldwide that's infected, and it's a situation that's only growing because of a lack of education. And so I thought, well, why don't I work here first to raise awareness, raise money, and see what we can do to support Youth AIDS. And so Ashley and I came up with the name Off the Mat into the World and decided to use that as a branding title to create products. So we started to work with grassroots businesses like Gaiam, Energy Muse, Jewelry, Yoga Tribe and Culture, Satya Wear, just to name a few. And we would create products, and I would wear it, they would market it, and we would sell it to the yoga community, and that product would be tithed to Youth AIDS. And so we raised around $300,000 pretty effortlessly doing that. And at the same time, I started working with Yoga Journal and asking them as a media sponsor, can we use, anytime they do any kind of press on me, can we do the spin and take the attention off of me per se and put it onto this cause?
That's great.
And also use the yoga conferences as a way to promote more awareness, bringing artists in like Ben Taylor, Michael Fronte, Carolyn Mace. This year it's going to be Edie Brickell to come in and do performances or guest lectures and all the money there would benefit youth aids. So my hope was to start to bridge the spiritual communities, not just the yoga communities, but also bring in the musicians that are coming from a really kind of a more empowered place, spiritual leaders, anyone who's really talking about truth and love, start to bring them into the yoga community and see the synergy. So it was a really successful campaign for me, and it really inspired me because so many people wanted to get involved and help and support my efforts. And so in my head I started to recognize that what we really needed was to teach people how to create their own actions and develop their own leadership and organizational skills to raise money for a variety of causes. My passion happens to be children, sexual exploitation, and HIV/AIDS. But that's not to suggest that everyone is necessarily going to be passionate about that particular crisis. And there are other crises, environmental, educational, other health issues that also need critical attention. And so I want to support other people getting out there and also taking more of a leadership role and activist measures to raise money and awareness. And that's kind of where my work with Youth AIDS stays as it is. But my efforts with Off the Mat into the World is evolving. And now I'm working with Holly, Suzanne Sterling, and a variety of other people to begin these leadership programs to teach people how to be of service, but in an organizational way, and create better forms of support and networking so that an individual activist doesn't get burnt out, so that it's the community that ultimately will support each and every one of us in whatever our endeavor is. And that's kind of how it evolved. And as far as Youth AIDS goes, I'm getting more involved in the fields, meaning I spent a month in India working in the slums, educating prostitutes in the brothels in these slums about HIV/AIDS, correct and consistent condom use, talking to young women who are sex slaves about sexually transmitted diseases, teaching prostitutes yoga, which is hysterical. You can't, not the prostitute part is hysterical. Teaching women in saris yoga is hysterical. And going out and just being a more physical presence in the field is now something that I enjoy as much as raising awareness in the United States.
It totally creates the balance, of like getting the money and really applying there and seeing what's happening, right? What do you think about the yoga community here in LA, the whole?
I mean, I've been a part of this community now for 15 years, and I've seen different groups come in and out. People get really into it, and then I never see them again. And everyone comes into it for their own reasons at their own times. For some people, it becomes a lifetime endeavor. For other people, it becomes a trend where they're dealing with a crisis. So I've seen a really broad spectrum of students coming in and out. I love the yoga community out here. It's why I left New York to move out here, is to be a part of this community and to feel the support. I have people who knew me from when I worked behind the desk who who have enjoyed thoroughly watching my evolution, both as a student and as a teacher, and have supported me in both my successes and in the moments that I have failed, and have encouraged me to continue finding my voice and speaking my truth, who celebrate all the aspects of my journey. And I think if I didn't have the community to kind of watch my back energetically, I would have burnt out years ago. I feel an enormous amount of love and support, and in return, I feel incredibly supportive to this community and am committed to doing what I can to allow this community to continue building and growing and sustaining itself.
Just one last question. What do you like most about teaching?
Probably the relationships. I love connecting with people. It's such an authentic relationship that you're getting in a very intimate relationship that you get in an hour and a half, 2 hours, that no one gets to experience. You're so involved in someone's body, their breath, their vision, their feelings, and unless you're someone's lover, you don't get that much immediate inclusion in someone's experience.